This module of Total Quality Management Systems is on human resource development and its management. Then there are many sub focus areas like managing change, teams, high performance work culture, employee motivation, employee involvement. Those things we will keep discussing. But meanwhile, to start with, we should understand why has the total quality philosophy attached such a high significance to human resource management and its development. You see, all the criteria, if you see in criteria wise details, leadership is separate, one criteria. Then human resource development and management is another criteria, and total weightage is around 25%. Now, there is a reason why the human resource management and its development has been assigned such a high priority and such a high significance in the entire Malcolm Baldrige evaluations. Total quality philosophy. We have understood and heard through many management philosophers that your company is only as good as your people. Now, what is this as good as your people? How good are your people? With the growing significance of customer focus, how customer focused they are, how do you roll that out? How do you deploy the customer focus among the frontliners, the ranks and files of your organization? How do you create that customer focus, deploy, and have a measurement, evaluation as to how successfully we are doing? This is a challenge. And hence, the TQM focused companies have started finding new innovative ways to ensure that you create customer focus among the ranks and files, various levels of your organization, not only your own organization, but also, as we understood in the previous module, that the outsourcing has become a significant strategy now. Outsourcing. How do we create customer focus in the supplier's mind, their employees' mind? And hence, as we realize, creating customer focus within your own organization and with your own people is an ever-growing challenge. How do you do that with the employees who are not your own? They are your partner's employees. Well, it takes some very refined processes to ensure that it happens, and they start treating your customers as their customers. So we will understand first the various platforms on which human resource development and management is treating this particular challenge, handling this particular challenge. And in the process, we will not discuss the traditional and well-established practices of human resource like recruitment, training development, performance management. These things have more or less got established, but the total quality focused companies, total quality driven companies have started looking at new challenges. We are right now going to discuss those things in greater detail. Sorry. The first challenge. Of any function is how to create an alignment between the functional strategy and the corporate strategy. There is a company strategy, and you also have a certain strategy of your own function. Similarly here, human resource has its own strategy. How do we ensure that the corporate strategy and human resources strategies are in total alignment? Therefore, the functional strategies must align with the corporate strategy. And one very simple challenge is most companies are wanting to create ever-growing numbers of highly satisfied and loyal customers. Customer satisfaction translates itself into sale. The sales will convert itself into top line and bottom line ultimately. That is where the success. So, success of the company almost entirely depends upon how satisfied and loyal are your customers. Now, does the human resources strategy have this objective aligned, included, embedded in its various strategies like recruitment? Do they ensure that the employees have a proper customer orientation? Do they ensure that these employees are trained well or ensured that they are keeping in touch with the customers or the field complaints or the customer returns? Are they soaking into the day-to-day problems that the customers are facing by the products that they make? Well, you can do that by good communication and good embedding of those into the day-to-day work processes and evaluation processes. You will start performing on what you are measured at. Tomorrow the company starts measuring all employees, how customer focused they are, whether customer deliveries, how many customers has he visited, how many problems has he resolved, whether he hands off or himself as a single window. All those things indicate his customer focus, and these things can be evaluated and measured, can be factored into his performance. This was a small example of how human resources strategy can ensure alignment with the corporate strategy. They should also be mindful that high customer satisfaction and loyalty can be achieved through very highly satisfied and loyal employees. Highly satisfied, loyal and committed employees are more likely to create satisfied and loyal customers than otherwise. Therefore, how do you create a team of highly loyal, satisfied and committed employees? And the various actions that we'll take, we'll discuss, which ensures that. Employee involvement is one such initiative, which we will discuss toward the later part of this module. And then the question comes of the changing market dynamics, market scenario, moving expectations of the customers. And then, as we all know, nobody in this world wants a change. In fact, one of our colleagues in Comerio, Italy, he used to say, nobody wants a change in this world except a wet baby. A wet baby cries for a change. Nobody else wants a change. Now you have a battery of employees, a large number of employees who don't want to change. It is quite natural. Nobody wants to change. Everybody wants to continue in the same stage in which he or she is. Maintain a status quo. And there the market is changing, market is dynamic, customers' expectations are changing. So market is changing, market is dynamic, and you have a battery of employees who are not wanting to change. In that rift or the gap going to widen, how are you going to handle this challenge? Are you going to manage the change in the work culture of your company to ensure that it aligns with the market requirements? Well, this is the third platform on which total quality-driven organizations are handling their human resource management. We often, while teaching this subject, take the example of the famous saying in the Toyota plant in Georgetown, which does state very clearly that there is nothing that we have what others can't have. They can copy us technology-wise. There is no secret regarding our quality systems. They can definitely copy that. The technology of various painting and assembly line and pre-manufacturing lines are all known, well known. If not known, will be known tomorrow, and they copy that. So what is the unique thing that we have? Well, they are very proudly telling that the quality of workforce, the work culture that we have is unique. The work culture that we have is unique, and that nobody can copy so very easily. It is not in short time that anybody can copy that work culture. A classical example of how a chaos can be converted into harmony and a noise can be converted into a music. That is the quality of the work culture of the manpower, which has differentiated companies like Toyota from the rest of the world. We will now understand the basic objectives of the human resource management function. And in the key lines that we should understand is the objective of the human resource management should be to build a high performance workplace and maintain an environment of quality excellence to enable employees and organization to achieve a strategic objective, to achieve the necessary change, the moving requirements of the marketplace and the customers. So, the key activities being determine organization's HR needs first and foremost, and to convert a high performance workplace. Assigning and designing the work systems. We are not discussing industrial engineering, the work system and job systems. These things I hope are understood. If not, do all learners or all those who are students of this subject would do well to do some self-study on job design, work design, various industrial engineering aspects of work deployments. Third objective and activity of human resource management being recruitment, selection, training, development, counseling, motivation, performance management and rewarding and recognition of employees. Act as the link between the employees, management and the government, and ensure employees' safety, welfare, well-being. After having had a look at the key activities of human resource management, We'll now try to pinpoint certain leading practices, about 10, 12 of them. Some leading practices in a TQ-driven organization which were virtually non-existent in past. First and foremost being to promote cooperation and skill sharing across work units, functions and locations. That is, if I have an expert of one field in one location, one unit and one function, we must find an opportunity that we use that or leverage that in the other functions and other areas also. While discussing the product design process, we did see how a logistic man could contribute to successful design of a product. If you recollect, we had discussed a washing machine height. Because of the small change, it was possible to load 3 heights, therefore cutting down the freight cost to 2/3, which in case of high volume products is a high cost. Now, it was possible only because a person of one skill set was encouraged to interact with the people of other skill sets. You call it cross-function or team orientation, but promote a culture of cooperation and skill sharing. This is the first leading practice that we talked of. Second, design work and jobs. Once again, I would say work design and job design, I hope you understand. Work design is performance specific, job design is person specific. So design work and jobs to promote cooperation, initiative, empowerment, innovation and organizational culture. Do we design work in a manner that cross-functional knowledge and cross-training is a requirement? And will that ensure new initiatives and empowerment and enlargement of jobs, cross-functional, multifunctional, cross-trained people? Individual empowerment, the third leading practice. The moment you go for team-oriented deployment, the organizations have felt like empowerment would become is necessary. Instead of the teams looking always upstairs for permissions, sign-offs, approvals, why can't they look at their peer group who are competent in their functions and they together decide some actions to be taken? Well, this is the practice in large number of organizations, particularly who are very flat. One such organization that we know of is Louisville, Kentucky, the Saturn plant, Saturn, which was the largest selling car at one time in US. All deployments were team oriented. There was absolutely flat organization with no management strata. Nobody expected anything to come from the top. They were all on their own, and mind you, it was a very successful project at one time. Before Honda Accord became the #1 selling car in the world, Saturn was the largest selling car at Louisville, Kentucky plant. And then, as we all know, you get what you measure. You get what you expect, you get what you deploy, and you get what you measure. Is our performance management system ensure that the individual and the teams, there's equal focus on individual deployment and team deployment, personal performance and individual performance and team performance? Are there equal focus on both? And at the end of review period, are we able to ensure that the performance, whether or not it is as per what was deployed, better than exceeded or underperformer? These things can be done only in case of transparent and very measurement oriented deployments. If you can't measure, you can't manage. That we all know. But we should factor that into our performance management and ensure that all the strategic and operational deliveries are factored into that performance management plans and measured against the deployment standards. Next, leading practices, effective processes for hiring and career development. What is the hiring process? And career progression. The person, when he comes in, he should know as to what is going to become of him in the organization, and also whether the person is suitable for it, and whether the organization expects him to go to a certain level, and whether he is a fit, and whether necessary opportunities are created for him. All these processes of hiring and career progression must be in place before the person comes in. Extensive investments in training and development. It was discussed earlier also that you should treat every employee as a career employee. You should treat every employee as if he is going to be with you till he retires. And accordingly, you should invest in his training and development. Training which will be for his work and performance. Development is more towards his individual being. Invest in his training and development as if he is your career employee. Never be unsure of whether he is going to be with you long enough to pay back the expenses that you are incurring on him for his training and development. This should not be the attitude of good companies. The employees should be motivated to develop and use their full potential. Do we have workplaces and systems that his full potential is, the employee makes an effort to develop his potential and use his potential? Or is he a frustrated guy who does not want to even utilize his own potential and go further? Maintain a work environment that is conducive to the health and well-being of and growth of all the employees. And lastly, the TQ focused companies are very high on getting a feedback and making corrections. Analyze the gap, making corrections. That is, The various human resource practices that have been put in place, how effective it is, and the effectiveness measurement is best done by taking a feedback from the users, from the employees. Is that system of taking a feedback, gap analysis and corrections in place? And that is one of the key differentiators of TQ focused companies. They have started measuring so-called what was thought at one time were not measurable. You could measure either by index or by attribute. Employees commitment index. How do you measure employees commitment index? Various factors that indicate commitment, you measure those things, create an empirical and then measure. But you can year after year come and compare the commitment level of the employees. Well, these things are being done in TQ focused companies and futuristic companies. We will now shift our focus to the various types of teams that are being created in futuristic organization and how the team deployments are being done. Team, of course, we all know is small number of people with complementary skills, small number of members with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose. Set of performance goals, an approach for which they hold themselves mutually accountable. Various types of teams: management teams, natural work teams, self-managed teams. We were discussing of the Louisville, Kentucky plant. It was a self-managed teams, completely contained in itself. It had powers, it had responsibility, it has empowerment, and it performed very, very extremely well. Virtual teams, well, nowadays virtual teams have become order of the day. You may not have seen the face of your team member, but twice in a week, you are having either a video conference or telecom, information sharing, project deployment, and it works very well. It works very well. The moment you start discussing the best practices in one region, between Brazil, Europe, Australia, US, India, China, if across the telephone all the managers are discussing the best practices and sharing the best practices, you start thinking, why he's doing it, why can't we do it? Well, that is one very good way of improving. At least within your own team, why don't you do the best that the one is doing? You may later on shift your focus to competition and also cross-industry benchmarking. But then, is it not best that you start doing it from within your organization? Quality circles is something that we know of. Quality circles, problem-solving teams and project teams. What are some ingredients of a successful team? Clarity of team goals, improvement plans, positive approach, clearly defined roles among the team members, clear communication, beneficial team behaviors, well-defined decision procedures, balanced participation, established ground rules, awareness of group processes, and use of scientific approach. Some of you would know, we'll discuss later on to the module about the Six Sigma. The Six Sigma teams have become very common in those companies where Six Sigma has been entrenched or embedded as a quality philosophy. The team of champions, master black belts, green belts, and various team members of Six Sigma, how they work in unison, how they work in cooperation with each other to deliver the best results. And Motorola, GE, Allied Signals, Boeing, these are some very good examples how Six Sigma and the Six Sigma teams has contributed to their fantastic growth. From the team now we'll shift our focus to high performance work culture, high performance work systems, which ensures the high performance work systems ensures the following: flexibility. Is there a flexibility in my roles and responsibilities? Is there an opportunity of innovation? Is he a 24/7 employee? Is he always thinking of improving cost, quality, speed, productivity? Is he always thinking? Is he encouraged to participate in innovative teams? Is he encouraged to share his knowledge and skill? Does he ensure organizational alignment? His personal vision, functional vision, and the organizational vision, does it match? Does he ensure customer focus, necessary customer focus, by his work, by his teams, by his functions, and as an individual, and a rapid response, quick response? And for this, some initiatives that have been put in place are work and job design, as we discussed, compensation and recognition, health and safety, empowerment, suggestion systems, employee involvement, training and education, and teamwork and cooperation. These things have been factored into day-to-day and functional work systems. For designing high work performance work systems, the job design and the work design is handled slightly differently in TQ focused companies. Work design, as we discussed, was performance oriented. The change now in the TQ focused companies is around how the employees are organized in formal and informal units, departments and teams to ensure high performance. And the job design, responsibility and task assigned to individuals to ensure his growth, development, and total alignment with the company's philosophies and vision. They also ensure proper job enlargement, expanding an individual's jobs, enlargement, expand. Job rotation, having workers learn several tasks and rotate among them. This rotation ensures freshening up, new learnings. encourages creative inputs. Job enrichment, granting more authority, responsibility, and autonomy. So, job enlargement, job rotations, and job enrichment have become key to high performance work systems.